Welcome to another edition of Coastline, an opportunity to find out what's going on in Beaufort County. And it's a new year, and we've got some good news for you. There's a good chance that you'll be seeing a reduction in your flood insurance premiums, and a lot more in regards to a change that's taking place because of changes that have been mandated by FEMA. And to tell us more about that, we've got Hakim Bayyoud, who is the Plan and Floodplain Administrator for Beaufort County, and he's joined by Larson, who is the Director of Environmental Engineering and Land Management for Beaufort County. Gentlemen, good to have you with us on this edition of Coastline.
Thank you for letting us be
So,
here.
did I state it correctly? Is there possibly good news for a lot of people in Beaufort County?
That's correct, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell us about what has transpired over the last several months in regards to floodplain levels and how this is going to affect people here in Beaufort County.
I'm going to go through a very quick history of this new flood map or proposed flood map for right now.
Okay, flood maps, just for clarification, determine the elevation of property.
Of the properties, yes, sir.
In relation to water levels.
To water levels, yes.
And from that, you make determinations on how high you have to build.
The construction.
And what zone you fall in terms of how much you pay for flood insurance, right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
This study started back in 2005 by FEMA. The discovery meeting started in 2006. We received the proposed or issued in last year, June 2017, and we received actually the actual proposed firm from FEMA last September. We conducted so far 3 open houses for citizens of this county.
So this was 3 open houses in which people had an opportunity to see the changes that FEMA had come up with?
To have a chance to meet with the local representative, FEMA representative, DNR state representative.
And yourself?
Myself, floodplain manager from each representative of Town of Hilton Head, floodplain manager of Town of Hilton Head, floodplain manager of City of Beaufort, each municipality jurisdiction. So we had a meeting, we had an open houses for the citizens, and the turnout was not bad, 200 to 300. The first one was in the University of South Carolina in Ocatee. The second one was in Town of Hilton Head, and the third one was in the library in San Helena. So in this meeting, the citizen had the opportunity to ask questions about their property. We gave them the information about the proposed flood zone for their property. Looking at the proposed FEMA map, that map is not bad as everybody was freaking about, thinking, because I think I understand why everybody kinda
there was an anticipation by people that they were going to see an overall increase.
That's correct, and I understand why, because it takes so long. It takes like 15, 16 years to we keep listening, hearing, next month, next year.
Yeah, so because this is a study that you have been working on since, as you said, 2006. Prior to that, the maps that you have been dealing with in this area have by and large been since 1986 with a minor revision in 1993, right?
That's correct, because we are currently enforcing 1986 flood map, and that's if you are applying for construction or the only map we can enforce as of now is 1986 flood map. So back to this proposed map. After the open house meeting, there is a mandatory by FEMA appeal period, which is 18 months. If you have any concern, if you are disagreeing with FEMA decision that's your property in such zone, you have the right to appeal it. So we have 18 months to appeal for appeal period, and after that, we have FEMA will issue a final determination letter, then we have to enforce, adopt the ordinance, and then FEMA will issue the firm, and then it's going to become an official FEMA map, which is expected to be June 2019, next year.
So from that, and this is where the two of you come in.
Yes, sir.
Your department deals specifically with developments, individual developments, and your department, as I understand it, Eric, deals with infrastructure around it. So like roads, bridges, the amount of required retention ponds, those types of things. And your department, Hakim, would say how tall this building has to be above level.
Base flood elevation, we determine based on the FEMA flood map, the base flood elevation for your structure. We enforce in the regulation what's regulation we shall apply for this type of construction or this location or that location. So all that we enforce in this. So now when it's come to the construction, so yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so well, let's go ahead and not keep our viewers in suspense any longer. Show me the overall change. That one that you have right in your hand right there. It's showing, as I understand it.
Before I show that, if I may, I just want to say that we have three, based on the proposed flood map, we have three flood zones. Low risk, which is zone X, used to be, currently is C.
Okay.
Moderate risk, it's X shaded.
Which means you don't need flood
B.
insurance, but you would be crazy not to get it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not mandatory to have flood insurance. However, it's highly recommended.
And all of that is based on your lender's, what the lender says, correct?
Well, it's not.
People under the moderate risk.
You don't have to have it. It's not mandatory by National Flood Insurance Program. However, it's highly recommended, and the premium is not that high compared to when you have it in high risk, which is the high risk, the third category, which is AE zone, which is under the current flood map. It's in A0 to A30 and V velocity zone.
Okay, and the velocity zone is dealing with wave action.
Wave actions,
so those
and
areas would be like on the coast of the ocean or in a large river area, Broad River, Beaufort River type
that's
areas.
correct, sir. You know, most of the V zones, it's in Fripp Island, Harbor Island, portion of it in Davaski Island. You know, so what is it where you have an open ocean, an open water? But back again to the
well,
map.
let me just get
what
back
you
to one
asked
thing
me
here first. Now, in the moderate and the high risk areas.
Yes, sir.
Even though, well, let's just take the moderate risk. Even though it may not be mandatory, if you have a loan with a bank or a lending institution, the lending institution could mandate that you have flood insurance under their terms. Is that correct?
Oh, are we talking about if we have the change from special flood hazard area to the non-special flood hazard area? Because by FEMA, by National Flood Insurance Program, it's up to the lender, really.
All times it's up to the
It's
lender.
up to, because
so you could be in low risk, and a lender could still want to have you.
That's correct, because
okay.
it's their money. That's the way that they feel.
Okay.
This is the only way they can protect their investment.
I got you. Understand.
But if you know, and that's the other question I want to touch. Let's say that we see a lot of changes happen in Beaufort County if we look at the new flood map or proposed flood map. So a lot of the area decreased. So it's being out from special flood hazard area to get out of special flood hazard area. Let's say now, for example, I'm going to use a hypothetical example. Let's say there is an area in Habersham, just an example. Now it's in special flood hazard area. It's in a high risk, but under the new flood map, it's become a low risk area.
Okay.
So, however, by regulation, National Flood Insurance Program, you don't have to have flood insurance under the new flood map. However, it's up to the lender
Gotcha.
because they already built it while it's under special flood hazard area. And if I may say one thing about the new flood map, we have a decrease, and here the entire map of the county, and it's shown in the red where is the increase and where is the decrease.
Okay. As I'm looking at this, you've got areas in green that show a decrease. They've come out or they have been lowered in the special flood hazard area. And then you've got just a few red areas that reflect an increase. One seems to be this very large area here, which looks like it's almost Paris Island and
the north side, yes.
The north side,
yes.
Okay, of just above Hilton Head. Maybe Bluffton, would that be a correct area where they might see some increase?
Well, there is, for Beaufort County unincorporated, this is town of Bluffton here.
Oh, Bluffton's over
Yeah,
there.
this is town of Port Royal. See, there is some area in Sheldon area. There is in Sheldon
okay.
areas.
Okay.
In the north side of
here
the
in
county.
Yemassee.
Yeah, exactly. That's where is
Okay.
all the changes. You see it, that's
Okay.
in red. So there is, if you see town of Hilton Head, it's become all of it changed
Yeah.
dramatically, big time.
Very much so. May I look at this?
Yes.
Beaufort County Special Flood Hazard Area changes by community parcels. If I'm reading this correctly, it looks like you have overall added about 5,000 parcels have been put into special flood hazard areas, but it looks like 40,000 parcels have been removed, giving you a net loss of 35,000 plus parcels from the special flood hazard area.
That's
So
correct.
this is good news for
This
the
is-
majority of Beaufort
It
County
is.
residents.
It is good news, and you are correct, sir. Here, this is based on the study. This is a FEMA document. Actually, we got it from the engineering firm. They conducted the study on behalf of FEMA. If we touch just the Beaufort County unincorporated area, the parcel added to the special flood hazard area is 3,925. I just want to be very precise and accurate about the numbers.
Okay.
The parcels removed from special flood hazard area, 21,109 parcels. That will keep us net change removed 17,184 parcels out of the special flood hazard area. So this is good.
That's Beaufort County.
That's unincorporated area. Yes, Beaufort County. Yes, sir.
All right. So likely 3,925 people in Beaufort County, a total of 5,031 in all of the municipalities combined, will be disgruntled. And so they're the ones that are going to be likely to want to make an appeal. Nobody over here is going to appeal this, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think, if there is a decrease, I don't think anybody can appeal.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to go ahead and look at what that appeal process involves and what the overall expectations that people should have regarding their own personal lots. Stay with us.
Beaufort County is constantly changing, and we'll keep you informed. The County Channel, your source for what's happening in Beaufort County. From County Council to the Town of Hilton Head School Board and local events, the County Channel will keep you up to date. For a complete listing of the County Channel schedule, go to bcgov.net, click on the County Channel, and choose your selection. For live coverage of Beaufort County meetings, boards, and commissions, it's the County Channel.
Back on Coastline, and we're talking about floodplains and the changes that FEMA have instituted and that will be taking effect in June of next year, June of 2019, and how that is going to change everything from how much you pay for flood insurance to the requirements that you have as far as how high above sea level your building has to be built. And we're talking to Hakim Bayyoud, who is the Plan and Floodplain Administrator for Beaufort County, and Eric Larson, who is the Director of Environmental Engineering and Land Management for Beaufort County. And before the break, we were talking about the changes that have occurred, and we were seeing that overall it's going to be good news for most of the people in Beaufort County, but there are a handful, what did we say, about 5,000 property owners that will see the property they own having gone from a low risk to a high risk area. and these are the folks that you're most likely going to be hearing from in the 18-month period that you now have to make an appeal. So, first of all, where can people find how their particular lot or pieces of property have been changed online?
Well, two ways. One, they can go directly to FEMA website. That's one way. Second way, you always can contact Beaufort County Building Department, always. And we had it posted on our website under Building Department with all the information. The only things we requested is we need the exact location of the property. I just cannot say, oh, I need this or I need just the exact location, 10 Sam's Pond, whatever. Well, you know, so we can
or
get.
better yet, the parcel.
That's correct. But a lot of them did, you know, sometimes
if you get a county bill at the end of the year, you're gonna have that information.
And that will give us the chance to give them the flood zone, what they are currently and what's the proposed one under the future, for the future one.
They would go to bcgov.net, and then under that they would find your department, which is which one? Beaufort County Building Department.
Yes, under it, and there is, we posted it under it, you know, if you have any question about the flood, contact there, and they requested the information we need.
Okay.
And then, if for some reason, which is, as you mentioned, the 5,000 parcels that's being increased, you know, in special flood hazard area, if they wanted to appeal it, there is a process for that. They have to start. The process is, first of all, to ensure that your appeal is accepted, you have to have a legitimate reason, and evidence. That's why you are disagreeing with FEMA decision or with the study. So you're going to have a land surveyor or an engineer. or to prove your case that I disagree with them because the elevation there is not accurate, or the dirt is high, or there is millions of reasons.
So there's two incidents here that are going to be affected. I think we mentioned earlier. One is construction requirements.
Yes, sir.
The other is how much you pay in flood insurance. Now, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that based on these changes, if somebody has moved into a flood hazard area and they weren't before, there really is nothing that they can do regarding the cost of their flood insurance. That's going to change regardless. But let's say that I have a lot that is getting ready to move from a low risk to a high risk. Would it be in my best interest to go ahead and begin development now so that my requirements don't increase until 2019?
I know exactly what you're trying to. Yes, that's up to them. If you have it low risk right now, and you know for sure it's going to be in 2019 under the new flood map, it's more stringent, I will go now. If that will be grandfather even later on, even when we adopt the new ones.
So
this
there is a grandfather clause.
Yeah, because you are complying with the current flood map, with the requirement.
Okay.
So that's but you touch about the flood insurance. I just want to mention one thing to the citizens of this county, that we soon become under class 5 of community rating system. That will give them a chance to get 25% discount. So another way, now we getting 20%.
Okay, so
he's going to have a 25%.
Beaufort County over the last several years has managed to move from a class 6 zone to a class 5 zone under FEMA guidelines, which means that we will be seeing a savings of a net savings of 5%. We're going from a 20% to a 25% savings.
That's correct.
So that's great news. You guys have done a terrific job. How did you bring that about?
This is a team effort. This is a very, 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 it's very intensive work. And this is 5 years, 5 years, every cycle, every 5 years, they have to have come and visit and go through all kind of documentation, how we apply the rules, how we enforce in it, how we verify the FEMA documents, what's our process. And it's not only about flood, stormwater, planning, all kind of things.
And I know, Eric, we had spoken several months ago about some of the stormwater work that your company, your department has been doing. What are some of the things that you guys have been working on to improve the stormwater issue here in Beaufort County?
Right. So the Division of Environmental Engineering and Land Management includes not only the Stormwater Department, but the Community Development Department and our Disaster Recovery Department. And disaster recovery is our mitigation arm. You know, we are constantly looking for ways to make ourselves more resilient through you know, rebuilding our critical facilities, our infrastructure, to prevent loss from flooding or other natural events. So we use the flood maps as a tool to guide land management decisions at the zoning level, the type of development that we allow in certain zones, and what we might discourage and place elsewhere. Critical facilities such as hospitals, police stations, fire stations, water and sewer utilities. You want to get those out of these high-risk areas that have been mentioned. And so those are the decisions that are made at the planning and zoning or the community development level when a site is being considered for development. The Stormwater Department uses these flood maps. You know, Hakim's department in the building inspection, they set the elevation of the structure. We're setting the elevation of all the infrastructure that serves that, the parking lots, the roads, the stormwater management facilities. And we're regulating to the 100-year storm event. And that's unique for our community. Not many communities will go up to that level of standard.
That is a higher standard.
It is a higher standard, and it is part of the reason we got the increased rate on the community rating system. But we should, because we're in the coast, and we have an economy that's based on tourism, it's based on seafood, shellfish harvesting, and if we don't prevent the pollution of our waterways, we really have done a detriment to ourselves. And so we regulate to the 100-year floodplain. And when I mean that is when future development occurs, we're going to steer critical facilities and high-risk facilities away from these high-risk flood hazard areas, and we're going to place them where they're less susceptible to flooding from either storm surge or high tide or riverine flooding, overland flow flooding. And then we're also regulating to prevent this development from making the situation worse. And we require stormwater management in all new development and redevelopment so that they do not have a negative impact on their downstream neighbors. So again, we regulate with stormwater ponds and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so just to kind of get it clear in my mind, you're kind of the macro and Hakim is kind of the micro. You're dealing with large areas and all of the roadways and all of the drainage and all of that, whereas Hakim's department deals with the individual homes. So are you putting a greater requirement on developers to have stormwater retention ponds and the like?
Yes, we've had that in place for a long time. Here recently, with the evolution of the municipal separate storm sewer system permit, which is commonly referred to as MS4. It is a newer program that the federal government, through the Clean Water Act, brought down to the state level, and then the state, in turn, the Department for Health and Environmental Control, permitted us locally as an MS4 permittee. And what that means is we had to increase our regulatory standard to meet some of the requirements of not only the Clean Water Act, but we did it hand in hand with Hakim and his office as we developed our standards, because we knew if we regulated to this higher standard that we could get credit on the community rating system.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, as far as my statistics show, the only area that is better rated in the state than us is Charleston. They got a rating of 4, you told me?
That's correct, sir.
You guys are to be praised for that, and I've lived here off and on since 1983, and I've seen things where we've seen a lot of pollution going into some of the estuaries, into the May River. You never hear about that anymore. I remember years ago I used to do a news broadcast, and it was always something has gone into the May River, or we need to clean up, the oyster factory area down this. I don't hear much of that anymore. Is that because what you're doing is working?
Well, I'd like to take credit for that, and I'm glad you're not hearing about it because that is my day-to-day life. But we still deal with pollution in the May River, the Okeechobee River, the Beaufort River, the Morgan. We still have pollution all throughout the county to various degrees, and we continuously combat that. And we look at existing development and how we might be able to retrofit these watersheds and improve the situation. And again, as I mentioned, we're regulating new development to make sure we definitely don't make it worse than it is today. Yeah, they're all related. And if we can't prevent the pollution from getting in the we're trying to prevent the pollution from entering the waters by keeping it on the property where it can be treated at the source rather than washed into our streams. And floodplain management goes a long way with that. If we know the area is subject to flooding, we don't want to put a septic tank there because that septic tank is going to get saturated and inundated with floodwaters, and then it's going to release all of its pollution right into the stream.
All right, very good. Well, we've only got 1 minute left, so I want to thank both of you, Hakim, Bayyoud.
If I may, just
yes.
one item.
1 minute.
The thing that regard to the appeal, whoever gonna appeal it, because I know that it's not to us. We just gonna.
They're appealing to FEMA.
To FEMA, yes. I just want to make sure this is the citizen understood it, because I don't want my office to start getting all.
And all of
that
that'll be outlined on your website, I'm
That's
sure.
correct, sir.
Okay.
And then about last things about the community rating system, class 5. What's that meaning to Beaufort County? In money, if we transfer it to money amount, that's $800,000
Per year.
Per year saving.
Our residents can thank your department for an $800,000 a year savings in their
thank
flood
the county
insurance.
and because it's a team of everybody.
Gentlemen,
Thanks.
I appreciate it. Hakim Bayyoud, Plan and Floodplain Administrator for Beaufort County, and Eric Larson, Director of Environmental Engineering and Land Management for Beaufort County. And if you have any further questions about all of this, it's very technical in nature, I know that, but do go visit our website at bcgov.net. And again, you'll want to look under Beaufort County Building Department to find yours. And
Stormwater management and community development.
All right, and of course, we'll find your phone numbers listed there as well.
sir.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. A great way to start the new year with some good news overall. And I thank you for joining us on this edition of Coastline. That's it. We'll have another great guest, we hope, next month. We hope you'll join us then.